Hello, hello. It's me, Mickie Giacometti. Today on Great Talks, I have back with us Amy Doyle from Legalshield. She's going to help us understand why, or just one of the many reasons why homeowners need legal protection and how you cannot make or allow legal matters to stand between you and your dream home. I'm so excited to have her on. Today, we are going to do a little bit of a deeper dive on wills. So let's bring her on to Great Talks. Hey, Amy, how are you?
Great. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm so glad you are here today. So we're just going to jump on into it. As you know, I've been going crazy, excited for you to be here. I dropped my notes. So we are going to talk about wills because estate planning is so important. I know a lot of people, they're not always excited to talk about that topic, but it's an important topic. So let's dive on into that. So I guess the first question would be, do I really need a will?
Absolutely. Everybody needs a will. Everybody needs to have their say in what they want to happen when it comes down to that time. Even your 18-year-old child needs to have a will because if something happens to them and you don't have a will, a power of attorney in place, the state decides, the doctors decide. Through those couple years ago, when you're over 18 and you couldn't take somebody with you to the hospital,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
having to make those decisions you don't want to do. So a will is so super important, especially if you have kids, because can you imagine if you didn't have anything in place?
Yeah,
Where would your kids go? You know,
exactly.
we have a background of doing foster care for 4 years in the South Bay here in California, and we saw kids come in and out just because parents didn't have a plan. So,
Yeah.
absolutely, everybody needs a will.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, that's something that I've been sharing with my clients and friends and family. It's so important to have that in place. And honestly, there is another reason to that, not just to mention the scenario you just shared, but sometimes when somebody passes and they have children, then it goes to family court, right?
Mhm.
And so then there's even more monies that are being used on trying to hash things out in family court because people didn't line that out. And that's just one of the things, one of the many things that people can line out in their will, correct?
Absolutely. And here's one of the hardest parts of that being on the other side of being a foster home is you are putting a child who's already in distress of losing their parent in even more distress to go to a complete stranger's home
Yeah.
in an emergency placement situation until family members that maybe you don't have family members that live close, they live out of state, out of the country, wherever, they're not within a phone call away, but now they're in emergency placement, and now your
Mhm.
family's having to battle it out in family court to get that child, and you're really putting a child in a bad situation, or
Absolutely.
stressed out and upset even more, and it can really change how a child reacts at that point because they're with a stranger, now they're with somebody they don't know, and I've
Right.
seen that happen firsthand. And I vowed to say my kids would never, ever go through that, and until
Hmm.
6 years ago, I didn't even have a will.
Yeah.
6
Well, I
years
think a
ago,
lot of
I didn't
people,
have it.
right. A lot of people don't realize that that is one thing that can be done through a will to help, because I would like to believe that most people would never intentionally want to put children through that, you know? So I think it's just a matter of people not realizing that that is one of the things that could be lined out in a will to help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's not just who's gonna take care of your kids, but who's gonna take care of the, inheritance that the kids get, you know?
Sure.
Because it could be the same person,
Hmm.
maybe Aunt Betty is great with kids and you want Aunt Betty and Uncle Fred to take care of the kids, but
Sure.
they're terrible with money, right?
Oh, that's a good
So
point.
you have a completely different person in
Sure.
charge of taking care of the inheritance that that child's going to get. So
Yeah,
you have different people involved making sure that your child's taken care of. Your pet too. So
absolutely.
those of you with a pet, where does your pet go? You
Exactly.
know?
Oh my gosh. Okay, people, I run into this so much in my profession, and I know other people do too. It's sad. People forget that after they dearly depart, their pet's sitting there going, "Hey, what's going on?" I know my mom, for example, she ended up adopting a dog that was needing to be adopted because of a dearly departed situation. And it happens so many times. So many people don't realize that they need to make arrangements for their pets. So talk about it. Make sure you start talking to friends and whatnot. If something happens, would you take my dog? Because hey, they seem to like you, or my kitty cat really is fond of you. So if anything happens, can you can you take care? One of my dogs actually has a godmother for that reason only.
You know what? And it's really important you brought up a good point. You need to let the person know.
Oh,
Hey,
yes.
I am putting you on this legal document, and you got just talk to them about it because they may not be wanting to take that responsibility, and
Yeah.
you're putting your child with somebody who doesn't want that responsibility and or can take on that responsibility. So it's super important to talk to them.
Yeah.
Don't just, when that time comes, hey, you got my kids. I
Right.
got five
That's a
kids. You want them
surprise.
all?
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? You're sitting there grieving, and then you get surprised with, okay, I'm super sad that you're gone, but oh my gosh, I have to take your bratty dog that drives me crazy.
Or
Okay,
your
don't
five
shame on
kids, or
God.
I know families that have 8 kids. It's like,
Oh,
whoa.
sure. I know, right? So, what are some of the other things that people might not know that they can line out in a will? Those are a couple things I think most people don't realize they can do.
Right. So some of the other things that we call it our estate planning
Mhm.
package that we do with our services is your power of attorney and medical directives. How do you
Yeah,
want to go?
so
How
important.
do you want to go, and who do you want responsible to make that decision and know that they're following through with your wishes, right?
Yeah, you're directing.
Your medical directives, it's if you don't have one in place, that's great. The hospital has one. They make those decisions.
Right.
And it's not their decision to make. It is yours. It is yours and your family's. I was very fortunate that I was very much involved in my dad's medical care before he passed away in 2011. So they all knew me and let me make that decision. But that's not the
Doesn't
case
always
for
happen.
everybody.
Mm-mm.
It's
And would
not
you
the
want a
case.
stranger? Do you want, I guess it boils down to that. Do you want a stranger making those decisions for you, or do you want somebody who loves and cares about you? Not that, these strangers wouldn't care about you, but you get what I'm saying. Do you want a stranger or somebody making these decisions for
Yeah,
you?
the stranger has no emotional ties to you,
Exactly.
and the stranger doesn't know what your wishes are.
Right.
We have some clients that, obviously got very sick in 2020. He had a
Sure.
DNR on their file, but because he had a legal document stating that this person, my children, are my medical power of attorney, they make that decision
Mhm.
for me. He was able to get a ventilator. He was only sick because he caught a virus, right? Which
Mhm.
needed a machine to help fight that virus.
Right.
But can you imagine if he didn't have that document in place? I don't think
Right.
he'd be here today.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he's still alive
That's
thanks to
fantastic.
having these types of documents in place to
Yes.
allow somebody to carry out what his wishes are.
Mhm.
I mean, I just can't imagine being in a situation to where I didn't have those in place. Not only that, but having that conversation
Oh,
with
well,
your loved
yeah,
ones, with your kids. This is what I want to happen, you know?
exactly.
And we even have a backup person in case
Yes.
our kids can't make that decision because
Mhm.
they're upset, they're scared. We have an extra person outside of the family to help sit and talk with our kids and go over that. But if you don't have it, the hospital takes care of it for you. They make that decision
Yep.
because if they keep you on machines, it's costing the
Yep.
hospital money. And
What are they gonna do?
yeah, it's
Okay.
time to move it on to the next patient.
You connect the dots. Guess what they're gonna do? More than likely.
They're gonna
Exactly.
connect them all and make one flat line.
That's terrible, but true.
It is. It is in today's world. It is. It is a scary world we live in.
It is. You know, speaking of scary, some people when they know they do realize they need to have medical directives and also somebody to take care of their finances. And I think it's very important for people to realize that doesn't have to be the same person. That could be different people. And again, backups and all that. Backups. I'm always preaching that backups because you never know. So that's important too, is just making sure you have the person or persons that are going to make the sound decisions for you medically and as well financially, because they basically have your whole world in their hands at that point with your finances.
Mhm.
So you want to select the appropriate people. They could be the same person, but maybe not.
Yeah. The other thing is when you say backup, have backups, right?
Hmm.
When we complete our process, and it comes back to our members and they're able to sign it and execute their will and sign their power of attorney and medical directives. So we always tell our members, on the front of your original, put one of five or one of three or however many you're
Oh,
going to make on the original. Okay.
hmm.
And then make the copies. And so Aunt Sally has a copy. Your kid Bob has a copy. Your daughter has a copy. Your parents have a copy. And put on there where is the original,
Oh,
right?
that's a great idea.
Because you may not get a hold of Aunt Betty. She's out on a cruise in the middle of nowhere, and Bob is deployed, or
Sure.
Sally is, Sally's in, heaven forbid,
The Peace
incarcerated.
Corps somewhere.
Yeah. So you want to make sure on there it's listed where is this original. And you got to
Yeah,
let people know because if they need to go find a copy of that, they need to know where to go.
that's
They
a
can't
great
rummage through under
point.
your mattress, in your dresser, all those types of things to find it, to make sure that it's followed out all the way.
Sure.
And so
Sure.
always, we have backups. Our kids have a copy, our parents have a copy, there's one in our safe, all those types of things.
Mhm.
It's just preparing you for life events.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so it's just part of being a responsible adult, pure and
Yeah.
simple.
When you turn
So
18, you may not be an adult, but you are an adult legally.
so how much would something like this cost through, for example, the legal show process, the estate planning?
So it is included in our services that we offer. It's a subscription, like you pay for your cell phone, right? You have a
Mhm.
subscription to your cell phone. You have subscription to Hulu, Disney. You subscribe to so many things nowadays. It's a
Sure.
subscription. We disrupted the legal industry, and we've been around since 1972. We're not going nowhere. And so it is absolutely included in our service. Our basic service is $29.95 a month. So $30 a month, and your estate planning, your will, your power of attorney, medical directives is done. Now, there's tons of other benefits that you get
Sure.
with your services. This is an added benefit that I am just so passionate about. My dad died without a will. My father-in-law died without a will. Um, I've just seen family wars. They will fight over the silliest things, the silliest
Right.
things, the pictures on the walls,
Oh yeah.
that just everything.
Oh yeah.
And it's sad. It
It
tears
is.
families apart. So I'm so proud that this is included in our services. It makes the value of our service. Even if our service was $100 a month, I would pay for it, because the cost of getting a will, power of attorney, medical directives in California is at least $1,500, $2,000.
Worth it. I mean, to get it done, but this is so much less expensive. This is a much less expensive way to do this.
And it's done by an estate planning attorney.
Right.
So it's not a paralegal, it's not a law student, it's not a Google searcher, do your will. It is actually done by our provider law firm. And so in California, we've got two. We got one out of Rockland and one out of Southern California. So we have amazing attorneys that have been practicing law for years.
And if somebody watching this is from another state or even another country, perhaps, but they could check into this, but any other state, there's also other law firms throughout the country, correct, that handle it for different states? Yes.
Yeah, every state has their own dedicated law firm. So every state, all 50 states, including all Providence of Canada, we have law firms that specialize in every type of law. All the main areas of law, you get your advice and consultation from them on any type of legal matter. For instance, I know you're a realtor. One of the biggest things that people want to do is review those documents, right?
Yes.
And how many people purchasing a home have warranty issues?
Right. Exactly.
Right? Or reviewing the contract, or you hire somebody to come do work at your house and they don't finish the job. Right. So all those things that they can get help for when they're purchasing a new home.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and when you buy a home, you need to update your estate planning.
So I was just going to ask you that. So shouldn't you do a regular update?
Yes. So yes, there's different ways to update. If you have a life-changing event, okay, you get married, you get divorced, your spouse dies, you have kids, you move, you buy a home, you sell a home, you get rid of a kid, all those types of things, life events that happen. And we tell our kids all the time, if you don't shape up, when we update our will and go through our will at the end of the year, we're not sure you're going to be in there anymore. I know. But I tell you, they show up for the holidays then. You got 4 older kids that are scattered everywhere, and you just want to spend one day with them a year.
You're so funny. But yeah, that's true. Life-changing events you want to go and update. Make sure
it's free.
Up to date. Yeah,
it's free to update your subscription. Yeah, it is. As long as you're still subscribing to our service and still a member, you can update your service update your will every year when there's a life event. Here's the greatest thing that I love about, and it's super simple. I have the packets right back here. We have a worksheet, and it walks you through: what is your name? Mm-hmm. What is your member number? Have you been married before? Have you been divorced? Do you have kids? Do you have deceased kids? Do you have living grandkids or deceased grandkids? Do you have stepchildren? It asks you all the questions for you to fill out and feel comfortable filling out.
Yeah.
We send that into our members can upload that or email it into the law firm. They draw it up. If they have questions, they call you, ask some questions about different things. But it makes it so simple. But one of the key things on there that people forget, because they think, well, if I do a will and I don't have this person in my will, then they don't get anything, right? That's not the case.
Right.
People can tie up your will in court for 6 months, 6 years. It could tie everything up. So there's one question that I point out to all our members. Who do you wish to disinherit? Doesn't mean that you don't love them. Who do you want to make sure never comes back and stakes claim on your estate?
Interesting. Juicy. We might have to do a whole episode on disinheritance.
Who do I not love anymore?
Oh my
But really,
gosh.
honestly, it is just preparing you, for that
Right.
life event. And it is
Yeah,
so, I can't believe how simple it is and easy it is and affordable it is, because that's why people don't do it.
sure.
They don't want to accept they have an expiration date.
Yeah,
They don't know how to even do it. So they Google it. Well, Google didn't pass the bar. And they think it's too much money.
right. Absolutely. But this is a low cost way to get it done and get it done
Yeah.
correctly.
And one of the sayings we've always hear, and we hear it every single time, I don't have anything.
Oh yeah.
I don't have anything.
That comes up a lot.
Mickie, you
Doesn't
got some
matter.
books behind you, right?
Yep.
You got some personal development
Absolutely.
books. Hey, guess what? That is something.
I always go back to it doesn't really matter how much stuff you think you have or don't have. There are other things also that are included, like your medical directives and your
Hmm.
financial directives that are so critical. And if you have children, that's you just got to do it. So there's just
Yeah.
so much. And I say an annual review. Everybody's a little bit different on that, but I think it's a good time maybe about the time you're doing your taxes to get it out and just do a quick review and see if everything's up to date.
Yeah. We set a timer every single year at the end of the year. We call into our provider law firm
Mm-hmm.
if we need to update our estate planning, if we need to update our insurance, our home warranties, all our home insurance, all those types of things,
Yep.
our solar. Did our solar
Oh,
produce
sure.
what it needed to produce? We live in a world where
Yeah.
everybody's getting solar now. And did it produce what it's contracted to produce?
Mm-hmm.
And we call in every year. We set a timer, call in, and take care of all of that every year to make sure that we're up to date with stuff.
Yep. Great idea. Well, Amy, I want to thank you for being on Great Talks today and sharing so much great information on why people need a will, because it's just part of why homeowners need legal protection. So thank you so much. And I want to thank all of you watching. And if you have any questions, please drop them in the comments below or reach out to me and I'll get you connected with Amy today. Thanks so much, everybody.